So Ryan, just so you all know, drank half of a free drink, right? And then he left it.
Because I got told to come out here and
It's a
sprint.
White Russian. No. There's no
fucked up. I fucked up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
How
I'll
is
go finish it.
everyone?
Very well. Yay.
God, that scares the crap out of me.
You really did. You really did.
That's so big and fucking strange.
But look at that. Yeah, I was just saying before, you age like a fine wine. Like, you've only got better.
No, I don't.
You've only got better.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's true.
Thank you.
I've been spooking you for years. Everyone's like, man, I'm not to bring up like ex-wives, but he's like, you're not Megan Fox. And I'm like, yeah, of course I fucking did. Like, it makes sense, right?
Eddie was so much younger though at that point.
What? I'm
Yeah.
sure you had choices. Do you want to get right into it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
Just move away from that question. I'm sorry. So 90210,
Yeah.
we're going back to the early 90s. I want to talk about how this show almost tanked right away, right? Like
It did, yeah.
It did, like first couple episodes, what, 10 episodes?
The first 13 episodes.
First 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
It was. So we were on Fox, which at that point wasn't a major network. Now it's the big four networks in the States. You have NBC, ABC, CBS, and Fox. So Fox was this little kind of obscure cable channel at that point. And they made a deal with Aaron Spelling to do this show. And it was kind of, for him, it was sort of the Hail Mary. It was like, I'm going to do this show, and if it doesn't work, I'm done. I'm good. I've had a good long career in the business. He'd done A Love Boat and Charlie's Angels, and like just
Fantasy
an
Island.
immense amount of work. So so we did the pilot, which I wasn't a huge fan of. I mean, just to be totally honest. So the way it worked at that point for actors was you would do commercials and guest appearances on other shows, and then you do a pilot. That was part of your yearly work. And a pilot is first episode presentation of a show for people that don't know. So a network goes, oh, it's a great idea. Let's do one of them, so we don't spend a ridiculous amount of money. We'll do one, and then if it tests well, they would bring in an audience to watch it. If it does well, then we'll do more. So they did the pilot episode, and it tested okay, but Fox was so young and so small, and they had such a small lineup of shows at the time. They had Gary Shandling Show, Tracy Ullman Show, 21 Jump Street, America's Most Wanted, right?
Simpsons?
No, so The Simpsons came off of Tracy Ullman Show. I don't know.
That was on by the time you started.
1989.
Yeah.
Somebody's got a phone.
Oh, well, yeah, 1989.
Unbelievable. Just throwing the facts.
Sorry.
Damn those facts.
In your head, you were like, I started
Which is why our
Fox,
show survived. Right, totally, yeah. So I was president of Fox. You don't need to look that up. That's the truth that I'm telling you. So we did the pilot, and it tested all right. And Fox decided, okay, we'll do 13. We'll pick you up for 13 episodes. So it was originally called Class of Beverly Hills. We shot.
I love how vocal this audience is so far.
This isn't new information. She can find it right now. I guarantee she already has. So so Class of Beverly Hills, it was called. And nobody watched our show for the first 13 episodes. It was, we would go to county fairs, pie eating contests, whatever we could to publicize this show. And then Fox, because they had no other programming really, they were like, we'll pick you up for the back nine. You could tell as they gave us the pickup, they were kind of like,
Lost
I don't
girl.
know why we're doing this, but we'll do this.
Yeah.
And then Aaron Spelling and Fox came up with the brilliant idea of doing these summer episodes. They had the Beach Club on the show, and they thought, okay, well, all the other shows are in syndication and rerun. During the summer, when kids are out of school, we'll have new episodes of the show. And it went from nobody watching it to everybody watching it within like a 2-week period.
That doesn't happen very often.
It was the craziest thing ever. I would be at a gas station, and somebody would run up and go, "Oh my God, are you on that Beverly Hills 90210 show?" I was like, "Yeah, what? You watched it? You seen it? You're kidding. You should call Fox and tell. You should call this woman in the front row. No.
She'll change the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, right. Wikipedia didn't exist. It's coming, and she knows." So,
No, I love that. It was at that point, one of Dan's favorite movies. He always goes to it. Every time he brings it up, it's like,
Kickboxer 2.
Kickboxer 2. He says, I went to saw Brian and I gave him the Kickboxer 2 thing. It was the first time he'd ever signed a Kickboxer 2 thing. I'm like, okay, Dan, move on. But
it's the first time I signed a Kickboxer 2 thing because nobody knows that Kickboxer 2 even existed.
there you go.
He came up to my table at a convention in the States and asked me to sign a poster, and I was like, I don't even think I had a character name in the film because I had like one line. And he was like, no, your name's Tommy. It was like he knew the whole thing, and sure enough, look it up on your phone. Sure enough,
That's it.
Kickboxer 2. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was saying.
Now
Lots of
I'm
action
here in
movies.
Australia, and I'm sitting in the front of this theater, being fact-checked by this woman. And,
What a beautiful theater, though.
beautiful theater. It was amazing.
Was it at that point, do you think that you're, obviously you've been acting since what, you were 9?
Nine.
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 Yeah.
Right, so you've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
Was it at this point, that gas station where you went, holy shit, my life has changed?
No.
You started noticing, was it later on?
No, it was later on. So we did, Disneyland does a thing every year called Grad Night.
Love it.
And it is it's a celebration for kids that are graduating from school. And it's
Makes sense.
it's a party for the night. And it's just nothing but grad students. So, as the entire cast, we went there, and they have a stage at Disneyland called the Tomorrowland Terrace, and it comes up out of the ground. It's like an elevator. And Wilson Phillips was performing. Just to really date myself. Wilson Phillips was performing. Another Bad Creation was performing. This was early.
Were they actually?
Naturally, right, as they do. So we're down below. They've got a whole crazy tunnel system underneath Disney. So we're down there, and the stage is up, and Wilson Phillips is performing, and then all of a sudden we hear this crazy scream, this pandemonium, and we're thinking, oh, they're doing like an encore. They're doing a couple more songs or something. So we're all hanging out down there, and at this point, we still really didn't think that people were watching the show. So we had this just absolutely stupid idea of we will hide on the stage so when it comes up, it'll look like an empty stage. So we did. We hid behind things, and the stage came up, and it was quiet. And then we all kind of popped up, and the place went bananas.
Wow.
It was completely packed with kids, and they were just like, you couldn't move. We couldn't move on stage. Like you reach for something, and it was just they would scream, and it was ridiculous.
Love it.
But it was at that moment that we really, as a cast, realized this show is massive right now. And it went from that experience to the mall appearances, traveling overseas, doing press stuff, and it was just like pandemonium everywhere we went. So you got to think at that point, like New Kids on the Block were massive. And so I was seeing like news footage of them running to their tour bus as girls are crushing against like chain link fences, and it was insane. That was all of a sudden happening to us. and it was so surreal to be in that. Like that's not natural for anybody to be in. And this was a show we've been struggling with for a year. Trying to get people to remember the name. They came up with the idea of changing it to Beverly Hills 90210. Nobody could remember Class of Beverly Hills. I was like, how is anybody going to remember the number 90210? That's the dumbest idea ever. I was wrong.
I'm glad you didn't talk up in any of these.
Right, I'm so glad I had no say. I was just like a young kid for hire, you know. So yeah, we started doing these, traveling around and kind of promoting, and I went to Spain, and that was insane. There were like 15,000 people at the airport when we got there. They had to close the airport down. They had to have lookalikes of us that went out a different door just to shift the crowd enough so we could go. And it was
pretty much the Beatles.
It was insane.
Did you love it or hate it?
It was, again, it was surreal.
To be honest.
It didn't make any sense. To be in Spain and for there to be so many people in an airport that it was so tightly packed, you could pick up your feet and just move with the crowd. Wow. Like I didn't actually have to walk or do it. It was surreal. That's not
unbelievable.
That's not a normal situation for someone to go through.
Yeah.
And the next morning I opened my hotel room window and there were like 10,000 people on the street.
Wow.
And I immediately went to the thought of, oh, I've seen Madonna do this. I've seen Michael Jackson do this. And so they're like signing T-shirts and throwing them, and Ian was asleep because we were all jet lagged, and so I called his room and I was like, dude, you gotta open the window. He was like, I'm asleep, right? I was like, just trust me, open your window. And I was sitting back and then I heard everybody screaming out, and he came back and he was like, dude, what the fuck is going on? It's crazy, right? Yeah.